Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something extremely exciting to take a look at because this is the very first Safari LTD figure that I have had the opportunity to take a look at as far as a 2022 release. And you might be thinking, well, okay, they've only unveiled one prehistoric figure on us, so why would I think that there would be more to take a look at? And that is because Safari is definitely going to be releasing more figures throughout the course of the year. They're doing it a little differently this year than what they've done in previous years, where they normally just kind of like unveil everything on you at once and then you just get excited and await the release of the figures. Well, this year they're just kind of going to, I guess, unveil them as the year goes on. And the very first one that they had unveiled on us was this, the Patagotitan. I want to give a huge shout out to Safari LTD, who were kind enough to send this over to me to take a look at a little bit early for you guys and check out this figure. And definitely a really nice looking figure, like so much better than I thought it was going to be. The original prototype images honestly don't do this figure justice because it is far nicer in hand than I thought it really would be. So that is, first of all, very exciting. Secondly, I think the actual paint apps as well are fantastic on this. Like, they have done a very good job applying the paint application to this, and again, giving it a really nice, realistic looking coloration and design, and the actual paint application looks super nice, super natural as well. And what is even more exciting is the fact that this is, in fact, a Patagotitan, because I do not have any figures of this species in my collection at all. So I am extremely happy to finally be able to add a figure of this species into my collection. Again, so psyched to see this, really anticipating the arrival of this one. So let's jump straight to a closer look right now. So starting up at the head sculpt, you can see some really nice, really fine detail. I like that this dinosaur is an absolutely massive species of dinosaur, so they've chosen to give the scale detail a really nice, again, very fine appearance to it, so it's not overly large or anything. And considering the size of this dinosaur's head, how big it would be, I think they've done a great job of sculpting out the texturing. They've also applied some really nice paint application, again, with quite a few different variations of lighter and darker shades of brown, as well as a nice kind of a tan here for the underbelly. They've also elaborated the mouth very nicely with a darker coloration. You can see the same ordeal for the nostrils, so the nostrils as well have been nicely highlighted with a darker color, and the eye is painted beautifully with a very nice glossy black. The eye really stands out, really pops, I think. Definitely looks very lifelike. You can see the ear right there on the back of the head as well. So the head sculpt was one thing that I was really, iffy about when seeing the original prototype images. I thought that the head sculpt kind of looked like it was, I would say, a bit large in comparison to the body, but it actually looks really good here in hand. And again, it really has a lot to do with the angle, because when you have the dinosaur, completely sideways like you would like to see to get a good view of the entire body, the head is turning toward us, which really, again, makes the head look like it's so much bigger than it really is. I've seen this happen quite a few times in the past when it comes to dinosaur figures, so I'm not surprised when you have a neck this long with the head leaning toward you that the head would kind of appear larger in the prototype images than it actually is, because again, in hand, the head looks really good, and the size to me does not look off at all. As far as, again, what we have in the dinosaur's tail is tapping the light over here, but as far as the detailing, as we run down the course of the neck, you can continue to see, again, that same style of pretty much fine scale detail. We also have some nice brown stripes picking up, very thin stripes that lead down to a pretty nice point at the end of the stripes. You can also see, again, the nice variations of browns. The browns are very appealing to the eye, really nice looking, I think. And it kind of seems like we've had maybe like a grayish wash over the pretty much the majority of the figure, honestly. It looks like it's pretty much everywhere, which I really like. Kind of gives it a little bit of a dirty appearance, but also just really highlights the detail. You can see, again, as we lead down the course of the neck, there is a lot of really nice sculpting to be found throughout the course of this exceptionally long neck. Again, you can really see that beautiful curve now from up above. really nice majestic curve in the neck. As you lead down here into the body, you can see a very large, big bulging shoulder blade right there, as well as an extremely muscular looking front leg, some nice creasing there in the joint of the elbow. As you lead down into the foot as well looks really good. Again, very nice, very fine detail throughout the course of the figure. You don't see any kind of scale detail that is exceptionally large, and I would not expect to on a dinosaur of this size. You can see again as we lead back up that we transition from this nice lighter brown again to that darker brown. And that darker brown, we have the stripes that run down the course of the majority of the figure, but the entire back is like a much darker variation of brown, and it really blends nicely with those stripes. The stripes kind of lead out. The stripes are actually a darker brown than this brown. This is an alternate tone, but I really think that it all blends beautifully together as those stripes kind of lead up and meet up there in the back. Again, you can see more incredibly nice looking skin texture. You can also pick up on the spinal column there running along the back of the dinosaur. You can really see quite a bit of girth in the stomach. Again, when you look at it from up above, there's definitely some significant girth in the stomach region of our Patagotitan. You can see some more really nice skin detail once you reach the lower part of the stomach, where you can see like the skin stretching off of the limbs depending on the positioning of them. How this leg is picking up, you can really see the skin stretching off of it. This leg is stretched back a bit, so you can again see the skin stretching off of it. There are also a few kind of darker spots here in the stomach region as well, and the overall stomach lightens up very nicely, kind of that same lighter coloration we see up here. But again, it really makes the detailing of the stomach pop out at you. And again, they've done a very good job of applying that grayish wash, because it's in no way, shape, or form overbearing, but really highlights the detail and kind of gives it a little bit of like, so I would say some like slight extra color variation. It just looks really, really nice, very appealing to the eye. As you move back here into the back of the dinosaur, you can see the hip bone. Again, you can see the nice darker brown as it transitions incredibly smoothly to the lighter brown as you move down the course of the leg. The muscle definition is definitely there in the thigh, but it's not overly defined, which is definitely a good thing. You can see the knee as we move down the course of the leg. You can also pick up on the calf muscle a little bit right there, but it's not, again, overly defined, but you can absolutely see the curve in the calf muscle. And then you move down into the foot. You can see the foot sculpt also looks pretty nice. We have some nicely sculpted out and painted nails, painted with a dark brown. And then we move back up here into the body, again leading up into the tail. You can kind of see some skin stretching from the tail into the thigh right there. And then as we move out the length of the tail, we again start out with those stripes, those kind of thin stripes. And this is one area I really like about the figure, because we have these nice, like, darker stripes. They start out with like a really dark brown. They transition to a lighter brown the further down you get. But as you move out the course of the tail, you have those darker stripes before it transitions to big stripes right here at the end of the tail with the lighter coloration. I really, really like the tip of the tail here, how it transitions to that lighter coloration and then the larger stripes. It's very flashy. Just a really nice, very appealing way, I think, to end the color scheme of the figure. You can also see that we have an absolutely gorgeous looking curve to the tail. Again, nothing overly unrealistic or anything as far as the curve goes, nothing out of the realm of possibility. Just a very nice, naturalistic looking curve to the tail. As you look here at the underside, again, the detailing is really nice, and I think in the areas where you have the lighter coloration, the detail just pops more because of that nice wash they've applied. And you can really see as you move along the underside of the dinosaur how much detailing is included when it comes to the skin texture. Even the undersides of the feet are very nicely detailed. You do have a cloaca here as you run along the underside. You can take note to that, which is nice to see that added element of realism. And again, the entire underside just sports some very nice fine scale, detail, skin texture, and it just looks great throughout the course of the entire underside of the figure, even leading up here into the neck. It just really, really looks good as you look at the very nice light tone of color they've chosen. I think the tones of color for this figure are honestly perfect, and the way they've applied it all and brought it together with a nice wash really, really amps up the realism and the appeal factor, I think, for the figure. We're taking a look now at the opposing side. You can see the head sculpt again looks very nice, kind of has a little bit of a grumpy grin on him sort of there. And then as you move back here into the neck, again, you see that nice curve and bend in the neck because the dinosaur is now looking away from us. You see more of those stripes, and I love how the stripes are kind of inconsistent, like it's not the exact same thing running down the course of the figure, because you have like some nice stripes here that are pretty much solid, but then you have some that are kind of split up, and you see a lot of difference as far as the stripes go as you run down the course of the neck. I really, really like that aspect as well. Again, something that I absolutely feel like could be the case on a real dinosaur. And then as you reach down here into the body, you can again pick up on that shoulder blade, very nicely elaborated there in the sculpt. You can see the walking aspect of the dinosaur because the leg here is trailing a little bit more so than what you see on the opposing leg, and due to that you can kind of see the skin bunching up there in the stomach region as the leg is pushing into the body. You can really see that they've captured the walking movement very nicely in the sculpt as you lead down the course of the leg again. The sculpting looks great, the foot sculpt looks very nice, the paint application is all incredibly smooth and lifelike. And then you lead back up into the stomach, you can as well see again some skin bunching up in the rear of the stomach because the rear leg is pushing into the stomach there as well. So a lot of really nice skin folding, skin wrinkling shown throughout the course of the figure. You have more of those kind of darker brown spots showing up here in the lighter area of the stomach, as well as those darker brown stripes leading down from the upper side of the dinosaur. Some more really nice creasing right here in the hip region, again showing how the leg is pushing into the body. You can again see that the rear leg looks great. Very nice muscle definition, again sculpted into the thigh, but yet again, just like we saw on the opposing side, it's not overly defined. Like, it looks natural as far as the way that they've sculpted out the muscle definition, and you almost can't even pick up on it all that well until you actually get like a nice light to, shine on it and make you realize that it's there. Same deal with the calf muscle. You can again see the foot sculpt, very nicely sculpted out down here. Again, the nails painted with a dark brown. And then you lead up here into the tail. Again, a little bit more kind of skin wrinkling, skin stretching and stuff right there as you lead out the length of that very nice, very long tail. Again, we have like those inconsistencies as far as the stripes go, which I had stated I really liked in the neck region. That continues through down here on the tail. You have like a little bit of a stripe and then a spot and stuff. You see that throughout the course of the tail and pretty much throughout the course of the dinosaur. I really like that. And again, before we transition to the lighter coloration that sort of overtakes the tail with those darker brown stripes, and the brown stripes have like variations of brown. I like how they have like a dark brown and then a darker brown as well included. So it just really looks good, I think, as far as the paint apps go. So a very nice looking Patagotitan, and I'm really psyched to finally have a figure of this species entering my collection, but really psyched to have such a good one entering my collection. Now, although the overall body mass isn't as large as some other older Safari LTD sauropods, like specifically sauropods from the Carnegie collection, this is still a pretty darn sizable figure, and especially when it comes to more modern Safari LTD, we don't get too many large figures nowadays, but this one definitely has pretty impressive size, and you can really see that there. The most impressive attribute when it comes to the size is the length, because you absolutely have a pretty good length. So you're looking at right around 16 inches pretty much on the nose, or about 41 centimeters. For a height, the highest point I would say would be the top of the head. You were looking at about 3 3/4 inches, or around 9.5 centimeters, maybe a little hair over. So definitely a very nicely sized sauropod. For a size comparison, first of all, we have the Safari LTD Allosaurus, and you can see that as far as the size goes, definitely another fairly sizable sauropod figure from the Safari LTD line, but not quite up to par with our Patagotitan, as the Patagotitan in general has a much bigger body mass and just as a larger figure overall. But this is a fairly newer Safari LTD sauropod figure, so I thought this would be a good one to bring in comparison. This is actually a figure I need to review. I've been wanting to review it for years since I acquired it, just have not done so yet, so definitely going to have to get to that soon because that is a gorgeous figure. But for another size comparison, here is the Safari LTD Dino Dana variant of the Tyrannosaurus, the feathered Tyrannosaurus, in comparison to our Patagotitan. Again, showing that the Rex definitely has a pretty good size. Probably one of the largest Safari LTD figures that we've had in quite a few years is that Rex, although this is actually the second variant, as there was the initial version as well. But hopefully this again will help to give you a rough idea, because this is a pretty popular Safari LTD figure, so definitely one that I feel like a lot of people would have. Now, as far as large sauropods from Safari LTD go, they don't get much larger than, actually I don't think they get larger in general. Well, maybe the older Mamenchisaurus, but the Diplodocus from the Carnegie collection, which is quite possibly the most beautiful Diplodocus figure ever made in comparison to our Patagotitan. And you can really see that the Patagotitan, although obviously not as large as the Diplodocus, definitely still can hold its own in the size department. Although it's quite a bit smaller, I feel like just showing you how large it is in comparison to the Diplodocus is a pretty impressive feat for this Patagotitan. We've also got ourselves another older sauropod from the Safari LTD line, as this is a very popular Brachiosaurus that they had released years ago. So another figure that I felt like would be, one that's in many collections that would be a good stand-in to give you an idea of the size. And then straying from the sauropods, we've got the Safari LTD City Potty here in comparison to the Patagotitan. We also have a fairly popular Allosaurus figure that they had released a few years back. And again, that's actually probably one of my favorite Allosaurus figures ever. So definitely a figure that I enjoy and figured would be another pretty popular one to bring in for a comparison. And then we've also got the Safari LTD Caprasuchus here in comparison to the Patagotitan. I was trying to think of some figures that people would specifically want to see with this one, and I feel like the sauropods were probably like the best choices, so now I'm just kind of going with a few random ones, and hopefully I will hit all of them on the head. But the final one that I'm going to bring in would be the Allosaurus, because I know this is a very popular figure from Safari LTD, so one that I felt like would be another good choice to show off the overall size of the Patagotitan in comparison. Obviously, the Safari LTD figures are not all to scale with each other, but still, again, beautiful figures all around. No matter which one you choose, all of the figures that I brought in for comparisons were beautiful, and this brand new Patagotitan as well is a fantastic release. So this brand new 2022 Safari LTD Patagotitan is an absolutely beautiful release, and in my opinion, probably one of my favorite Safari LTD figures to come along in quite a few years. Like, I really, really like it. I think the sculpt is fantastic. They have done a very good job on the overall fine detailing, as well as the pose. It's just a nice natural walking along pose. Pretty much exactly what you would expect from a sauropod this large. Nothing crazy would be probably occurring. You shouldn't see too much as far as like a dramatic scene taking place, because there's very little that could probably bother a sauropod this large. So I think the nice walking pose is a nice touch on the part of Safari LTD. I love the turn in the neck, even though it can kind of deceive you when it comes to certain images, making the head look larger than it is. I really do like the turn, almost like a curious turn in the neck, just kind of looking over, or maybe trying to catch a glimpse behind it to maybe make sure that the other sauropods in its group are still keeping up with this one. And I think my favorite part about the entire thing is the really nice paint scheme and paint application. The paint scheme they've chosen is pretty much exactly what I would like to see on a sauropod. It's nothing overly flashy or crazy, just a really nice naturalistic color scheme, and the tones of color that they've used are beautiful, really appealing to the eye. Nice, very smooth shades of brown, super nice transitions back and forth. Everything as far as the transitions of color goes is really realistic and natural. The stripes and everything, like, that's an area that could often look like paint on a figure, not so much body color. It absolutely looks like body color on this figure, so they've done a fantastic job on the overall paint application, and then of course brought it all together with that nice kind of grayish wash, kind of giving it that dirty look that you would expect to see on a sauropod. And it just in general is honestly a gorgeous looking appearance for this figure. When it comes to the sculpt and the paint, everything is great. The size as well is definitely a nice touch, because although it is a pretty large sauropod figure, it's not gigantic, and sometimes that can definitely be a good thing. With this species, I feel like you would expect it to be massive, but it's actually a really convenient size. Like, it's the type of figure that you can include a huge sauropod into your collection without it being a huge figure and without it taking up too much room in your collection. Because if you're like me, you've got so many figures in your collection that sometimes it can be a little tough to find places to put new ones. Although I did just get a new shelf to start putting more stuff on, so I've got lots of room currently. But again, the size is big, but it's not absolutely massive, which is definitely a blessing for many people that have an overloaded collection. So as a whole, this is a fantastic release from Safari LTD, and I feel like it set the bar pretty high for their 2022 year, so I'll be really excited to see what they produce moving forward for the rest of the year. This is definitely a great start, and I'm very excited for everything else coming from them this year. So if you are interested in this will be showing up on the Safari LTD website very soon. I will include a link in the description to the Safari LTD store where this will again show up at some point in the very near future. One last huge thank you to Safari LTD for sending this over. Again, absolutely awesome of them. And as always, thank you guys for watching, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review.